Ladies and gents, I'm Rusuji Reacts and this is the Russian Revolution Oversimplified Part 1 by the channel Oversimplified. Yes, the Russian Revolution. Lenin basically gonna just break out of the wall. Which video was that for Oversimplified? He saw, I think it was World War video, right? So I guess he's gonna expand it here. Lenin's gonna break out of some kind of a jail, and from there on, I guess he's just gonna rally up people, kill the Tsar Nicholas basically really horribly, him and his family in some basement. That's just fucked up. But yeah, I love Oversimplified. Oversimplified videos are always awesome. The joke he makes is always, casual way, which always, it's just some heavy situation is going on. He just makes a casual jokes. It's always awesome. Alright, let's watch this one. Remember, if you like my reaction on the phone, like, subscribe, check out the Reaction Day. There's a link in the description. Check out the cast of yeah, let's watch it.
This video was made possible by NordVPN. Click on the link in the description below to get an amazing 68% off a 2-year plan. Also, commemorating the weirdest bromance in history. Get your new character pins and Russian Revolution merch available now. Link down below.
Oh yeah, how did I forget that one? Rasputin, right? The crazy magician guy is gonna basically walks inside the royal family while Tsar Nicholas is fighting the war, World War I. Because he was an idiot. He didn't think I should send some great general instead of me. He's like, I'm gonna handle this myself, and which will end up him him and his family entire getting slaughtered by the communists basically.
Hey Jimmy, it's the 1800s, an exciting time to be alive. Why don't you get out there and explore the world? Gee whiz, Mom, thanks. This place is amazing. Where am I? Why, you're in France, my boy. Here we come up with wacky new ways of running a country. Liberty, equality, fraternity. Whoa, welcome to the United Kingdom. Here we invented the train. Oh, aboard! Holy smokes! You're in a German factory, my friend. Here we harness fire and coal to create all these sexy lederhosen. This is incredible. I can't wait to see where I'll end up next. Where am I? You're in Russia. Have I gone back in time? No, this is just how it is. Are you a farmer? Worse. Technically, my landlord owns me, which makes me a serf.
Oh yeah.
I'm scared. You should be, because I haven't eaten in 4 days, and you look pretty tasty. Hey, Jimmy, how are your travels? I hate you!
Yeah. Basically, Industrial Revolution didn't caught up in Russia, just like it did in Europe, and it showed, basically.
Russia in the 19th century, feudal, underdeveloped, and stuck in the past. While the rest of Europe had been modernizing and improving their citizens' lives, Russia's rulers were taking a different approach. My lord, we're falling behind the rest of Europe. It's time to industrialize, give the people rights, and share your power. Russian czars had no time for pathetic ideas like liberty and modernization because they were too busy having the time of their lives. While the serfs were breaking their backs in the fields, the czars held all the power, and they didn't have to listen to anyone. Want to run the country like a backwards feudal kingdom while the rest of Europe outpaces you militarily and economically? Go right ahead. Want to keep the people uneducated so they don't get any ideas? There's no one to stop you. Want to keep exporting grain even when there's a massive famine causing hundreds of thousands to die? That is your God-given right. While all of this was great for the Tsar, if you were literally anybody else, it probably sucked because Russia was falling behind. If they were to keep up with Europe, they'd need a strong ruler.
Yeah, there is, every time there's a bloody revolution where people die a lot, like French Revolution, Russian Revolution, is always preceded with, that's someone before all this, someone was really oppressive, right? That was the same thing in France before the French Revolution. They were doing the same exact shit, throwing parties, not caring about people at all, while people were dying left and right. Same things happening in Russia. It's like a spring type room. If you push the spring way too hard, it will bounce back even harder. That's the case. The more, this kind of shit goes on, the more bad elements rise up. I mean, how bad are they if this kind of shit was happening? Tsars were bad, right? So if someone like Lenin comes around, obviously his intentions were wrong. But obviously at the time where he's saying that this Tsar and all this autocracy is going on way too much, right? People has to take up arms. And that's kind of understandable at the point, even though his goals, long goals, are pretty different than what he promised at the start. So, but it's understandable that something like this would happen. Russian Revolution where Soviets suddenly rise up, people's power and whatever, because how all these czars were acting at the time. Same thing during the French Revolution, how kings were acting at the time. So French Revolution happened, then it went out of the hand way too much. Guillotine after guillotine. Somebody just said, oh, look at that, your neighbor, he just looked at you a bit funny, so he just goes to the whatever authority and just claims that he's some enemy or something. Without a question, they just cut his head off. So it just went out of hand way too much. Same thing happened here with the Soviets, right? Tsar was basically just living lavish life, and in the end Soviets rise up like this.
Some big ideas. Oh look, here comes one now. Hey everyone, it's me, Tsar Alexander II, and I've got some big news. I'm releasing you all from your serfdom. You're all free.
All right. At least that's something good.
I'm the best. Oh, there is one thing though. I spoke to your local lords and they weren't happy about losing all their free labor. So as a compromise, you're all gonna have to pay them back a near impossible amount of money for the next 49 years. Expect your lives to barely change.
So he just freed them up on the paper.
Okay, bye. Now I know what you're thinking. This Tsar Alexander II seems like a pretty cool guy. He's trying to reform the country and get Russia on the right path. Everyone must love this guy, right? Wrong. Why does one man get to decide the fate of everyone in the country? This whole system is dumb. Somebody should do something. Like what? Like kill the Tsar. You're gonna kill the Tsar? Well, me? No. I'm busy. I was kinda hoping you'd do it. Okay. See? The people love me. They're throwing flowers, confetti, and high-grade explosives. Okay, Nicholas, your grandfather has a mild case of being blown up by a terrorist, and he's not looking too hot. So we're gonna go say our goodbyes, okay? No, it'll be too scary for him. Nonsense, it won't be scary at all. We're just gonna say a quick goodbye. Ready? Boy, look at me. The people did this to me. And one day, they'll do it to you! See? Wasn't scary at all. So Alexander II...
Wait a minute. Did he just make a prediction there? Because he will die by the hand of people, him and his entire family.
He was dead. But luckily, they had another Alexander lying around. Alexander III. And he felt his dad's reforms had weakened the Tsar's authority. Russia was massive, and as a result, had many ethnic minorities. Non-Russians? More interested in their own cultural heritage than in loving me? Isn't it great? So much beautiful culture and diversity in our great nation. Alexander thought all these minorities should be a little more Russian, and thereby loyal to him. So he repressed religious minorities. He repressed non-Russians. He introduced the Okhrana, a secret police force that repressed anybody who thought having a Tsar was dumb. If Alexander II was the great reformer, Alexander III was the great repressor. Now that's how you run a country. Hey Dad? Ugh, great. It's my son Nicholas, who I like to call a girly girl because he's so weak and pathetic. When are you gonna grow up? You still look like a girly girl to me. But Dad, I grew a beard. Yeah, an ugly girly girl beard. If Nicholas was to one day be Tsar, he needed his dad to teach him how to run the country. But his dad instead suggested that Nicholas go somewhere else. So Nicholas went to Japan, got an edgy dragon tattoo, had his head sliced off by a policeman, and then came home. Now will you teach me how to rule? I suppose it's time. Okay, there's a lot you need to know before becoming Tsar. Uh-oh. What?
Alright, let me get this straight. How do you... How does Japanese policeman attack, son of Russia's Tsar, right? I mean, that would make him the next in line to become a Tsar. That's like a prince type of thing, right, of Russia. How did Japanese did that without fearing that Russia would retaliate? I mean, wouldn't maybe policemen didn't know, and then there was a bit of a panic later on, like, what the fuck did you do?
I've got kidney inflammation. Oh no! Upon his father's death, a totally unprepared Nicholas II ascended to the Russian throne. He wasn't a reformer like his grandfather, nor was he a repressor like his dad. Nicholas was Nicholas. Timid, easily swayed, and more interested in doing whatever the hell this is. Or this. Or this. He wasn't ready to rule, and he himself admitted it, saying, "I'm not yet ready to be Tsar. I know nothing of the business of ruling." Bit of an awkward time to bring it up. However, Nicholas firmly believed that he was chosen by God to be Russia's big daddy. And while he doubted his ability to rule, he was gonna give it his best shot. And hey, who knows? Maybe he wouldn't be so bad after all. To get things off to a good start, Nicholas promised...
Yeah, I mean, you can't really blame him, right? His father did not even teach him anything. I mean, it's his father's fault. He was gonna become Tsar one day, so it was his duty, his father's duty, to teach him, which he didn't. because he thought the kid was too weak or whatever. It doesn't matter. That's the next Tsar. You have duty to teach him things. It didn't.
Pretzels and beer to a huge crowd in Moscow to celebrate his coronation, so enticing a proposition to starving peasants that the ensuing stampede left nearly 1,500 people dead. What the hell happened?
1,500?
We're not sure, but you're scheduled to go party with the French at 8 o'clock. Shouldn't I stay here out of respect for the people? When have Russian czars ever respected the people? Nicholas's decision to go party with the French immediately tarnished his image. Some were calling him Nicholas the Bloody. The czars had been partying hard at the expense of the people for long enough. They'd emancipated the serfs, but failed to lift them out of poverty. They used their secret police to crack down on anyone who might criticize them, and they'd failed to modernize and give the people rights, something the rest of Europe had begun doing over a century ago. The rule of the czars was quickly becoming outdated, and more Russians began wondering if there was a better way. For many, the solution was simple. Just look to the West. Republics, democracies, and constitutional monarchies galore. But a small growing group rejected that for an even better idea. A little something they called communism. Take Vladimir Lenin, an intelligent member of Russia's middle class, and also a massive ill-tempered jerk. If you disagreed with him about anything, he wasn't afraid to call you out. You fat-headed, simple-minded, vapid, cockeyed imbecile! Tenderheart Bear is a far superior Care Bear to Bedtime Bear. And he was no stranger to political unrest either. His older brother was executed for plotting to kill the Tsar, and Lenin himself was expelled from university for participating in a student protest. But how did Lenin go from being a middle-class nerd to the arbiter of socialist divinity? Well, to tell that story, we first need to go back a few decades to when a man named Karl Marx wrote a manifesto explaining how capitalism is a system whereby the stinky bourgeoisie oppressed and exploited the working masses, and that only through class warfare could the workers rise up and instate a communist utopia. Now go back forward a few decades to Lenin reading that manifesto and loving it. But publicly,
I mean, look, capitalism is a problem, right? Industries owning things just for the profit. Even today we see how, people's healthcare is seen as a business, right? Which it shouldn't. Everything, there should be some moral code, right? Everything's open for business, sure, but something like people's heads should not be toyed around for profit. Some drug that costs just $1, $2, sometimes they've inflated up to $10, $15, right? Even $100 sometimes if it's that important, and they have the monopoly over it. So playing with people's health like that, capitalism is fucked up in that sense. So people thought, oh, communism, people, power with people's hand, that's going to be awesome. It really wasn't. Even that was fucked up, right? So, it was worse than what capitalism, whatever was. So, communism, it was just, on the top of the paper, it looked awesome, right? Power with the people, everybody's going to just living the lavish life because it's all up to people. Yeah, it didn't work out that way. So in the end, it's always a struggle, right? Bit of, mostly capitalism here and there, because free market is always going to breed success, right? If people can see they can make a profit, they're going to pursue that. And that always works. So capitalism in that way always works, right? But you also need somewhat socialism there too. Some kind of safety net, so people doesn't constantly have to panic about things like healthcare and certain things like, education should be somewhat free. Health should be somewhat free. So at least there is a safety net. Otherwise, it just feels barbaric. People who are rich are way too rich. People who are not are even barely surviving. They're not even going to the hospital because just calling, 911 would cost them a lot. So it just feels a bit chaotic. So, like how, Bernie Sanders said, right? Capitalism plus. Like it is a capitalism, but somewhat socialism added to it. Only bit of here and there, like safety net. That's understandable. But adopting to one idea completely, complete communism, complete socialism, complete capitalism is never going to work. There is always have to be some kind of a balance.
Admitting you loved Marx and not Russia's Big Daddy would get you the cruelest punishment imaginable. Exile to Siberia. Enjoy exile, where you'll live with your wife, chill around town, and secretly write socialist newspapers. Hey, that doesn't sound so bad. And your mother-in-law is going to live with you.
No.
Once Lenin finished his stint in Siberia, he left Russia for Europe, where he was free to hang out with other Russian Marxists and talk about how great communism was. Now today, you might hear the word communism and think of this. But that's not how intellectuals living under a tough Tsarist regime saw it. To them, communism promised a land where all were equal, where workers weren't exploited, and even people like you
sure.
could get a girlfriend. So Lenin joined a party of Russian communists living in Europe, and he founded a communist newsletter that was smuggled into Russia to try to radicalize the people. However, not everyone in the Socialist Party agreed with Lenin. In fact, they disagreed with him on a lot of issues, and Lenin was so uncompromising that he caused a split in the party. During one conference, a heated debate broke out, and Lenin was unwilling to give an inch. "You pig-ignorant, half-witted, fatuous morons! Cereal is a soup!" Listen, Lenin, you're a smart guy, but you have no idea what you're talking about. We're out of here. All in favor of cereal being a soup? Hey, would you look at that? We're in the majority. So Lenin set up his own faction within the party he called the Majority, or Bolshevik if you're speaking Russian. And the other faction became known as the Minority, or Menshevik. And oddly, the majority were often in the minority, and the minority in the majority. The Mensheviks were less radical, whereas Lenin wanted the Bolsheviks to be loyal to him and his uncompromising ideas. And if you weren't loyal, well then you're gonna get a big brain beatdown.
Yeah. So it's not really communism in that sense, is it? Power with people, no. Power with people in the sense if people agree with me. That's what Lenin's idea was.
Mensheviks worried that Lenin's attitude could lead to a one-man dictatorship. But come on, does this guy look like a dictator to you? For now, Lenin remained in Europe, writing his socialist newspaper and impatiently awaiting an opportunity to overthrow the Tsar and bring communist utopia to Russia. Cool, a free hat. Who the heck are you? I'm definitely not a Russian secret police officer spying on Marxists. Oh crap, I don't want secret police watching me. Then you, my friend, should use NordVPN. Do you like having your identity stolen? If yes, you need therapy. If no, you need NordVPN. NordVPN has thousands of super fast servers in 62 countries that you can connect to keep you and your data secure when using the web. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and is now faster and more secure than ever with its brand new NordLynx technology. Have you quarantine binged all of your favorite shows on Netflix? Well, with NordVPN, you can watch the Australian version. Or is one of the greatest videos on YouTube still banned in your country? I think you get the point. You can now get NordVPN with 68% off a 2-year plan for only $371 per month, plus 1 month free. So click on nordvpn.com/oversimplified in the description below and get protected now. That's nordvpn.com/oversimplified. And as always, you'll be supporting my channel. So muchos arigatos, mon petit pois. Now where was I? Oh yeah, a timid, easily swayed czar, a massive ill-tempered jerk, impatiently awaiting a communist revolution. And revolution was coming, but not in the way Lenin thought. Back in St. Petersburg, one of the Tsar's most skilled and influential advisors knew the country finally needed to catch up with the rest of Europe. Hey Nick, we really got to industrialize, get more factories, and make some, I don't know, textiles or something. Won't that change the social fabric of Russia? Maybe. Hey, isn't it past your bedtime? But I haven't had my milk and snuggles yet. Will you snuggle me? Nicholas thought modernization was boring, but he let Sergei do his thing. And do his thing he did. He borrowed some money and got Russia some sexy factories. And you know what sexy factories means. Sexy workers. Dirt poor, sexy workers. Long hours, low wages, filthy disease-ridden factories, sleep in overcrowded dormitories with all your stinky worker friends.
See, that's the thing. This is another aspect, right? I mean, people are already in the breaking point. The Industrial Revolution is great, obviously, but it also comes with the, you know, effed up working environment, right? I mean, that's why in Britain and everywhere there was, you know, this whole union thing started because of this, because how fucked up conditions were. Right, because it's, you know, working in factories is not some joke. So while the people are at breaking point, you know, introducing Industrial Revolution, it's good, but also this is going to cause more problems. That people are going to need unions that will push people, you know, to think for themselves even more. Like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. First of all, they're already angry because now they need a union because of the conditions they're living in. And already there's somebody like Lenin who's constantly bitching about why do we need Tsar and this and that. So this will just fuel that thing.
Get your arms ripped off in a freak Russian doll accident. Conditions were terrible. But this growing working class wasn't about to take it lying down. They started to do what workers do best. Strike. Despite Sergei's efforts, people in Russia still weren't happy. Peasants were still poor, liberals still wanted reform, and now the workers wanted better working conditions. And the problem with being an autocrat is that when everyone's unhappy, there's only one person to blame. You. The people hate me. What do I do? Ooh, I know. Why don't we find a weak and pathetic nation to go to war with? We'll win easily, and everyone will love me again. Why don't we just try treating the people better? As luck would have it, an opportunity for war was forming in the Far East. Russia wanted to expand its sphere of influence into northern China, and coincidentally, so did Japan. But Japan didn't really want war, so they proposed an idea to reduce the tension. Hey man, we'll let you do your thing in Manchuria if you let us do our thing in Korea. I don't think so. We've got the largest army in the world. What do you have? I'm the Emperor of Japan. I have a giant mecha suit. Whoa. Cool. Nicholas and the boys didn't see Japan as a threat, so they felt they could push Japan around. But little did they know Japan had been rapidly militarizing, and when they launched a surprise attack on a Russian fleet at Port Arthur, everyone was shocked. Nicholas hoped it was an opportunity to win a quick war and regain the support.
I think the policeman who attacked him when he was in Japan played some part in that, like, screw Japan, Japan is nothing and whatever.
Of the people. Nobody seriously thought a puny Asian country could defeat a European superpower, and the Russian people were filled with patriotic spunk. Hey everyone, we're at war with Japan! Hey everyone, we're losing the war. The Japanese won, an embarrassing defeat for Tsar Nicholas. Russia had enough problems, but now it had been internationally humiliated. The public were outraged. Unrest increased. Nicholas needed snuggles now more than ever. The tension was rising rapidly, and Russia was on the verge of revolution. All it needed was one disaster to push it over the edge. And that disaster would come in January 1905 from an unlikely source, a handsome Orthodox priest named Father Gapon. Father Gapon was leading workers and their families to the Winter Palace, but this wasn't some violent uprising, it was a peaceful protest. They wanted to deliver a petition to Nicholas, which simply asked for more freedom and better working conditions. The protest was actually so peaceful and respectful that the Marxists thought it was a big waste of time. Hey Nicholas, some priest is leading a peaceful protest. Says here they want to give you a petition. A peaceful petitioning priest? I better get out of here. Nicholas had actually left the Winter Palace days earlier, and in his place, they brought in a truckload of troops, ordered to stop Father Gapon from reaching the palace. Hello, good sir, and long live the Tsar. Please, allow me to pass this simple petition to our dear father, Nicholas II. Good day to you too. Please, allow us to respond by opening fire. What began as a peaceful protest ended in tragedy. Imperial soldiers opened fire on the crowd. Around 200 civilians died.
Holy shit.
More were wounded. All they wanted was the opportunity to ask Nicholas to improve their lives. Instead, they were met with bullets. Nicholas didn't personally order the
see, this is why, look, what happened to Tsar Nicholas with the hands of Soviet in the end is effed up, right? I mean, his family dying like this is fucked up. Something that Nicholas did, you know, I always find it really fucked up when family pays for something. But, you know, what happened to Nicholas? I mean, that's understandable because he was a real colossal moron, right? When Lenin is rising up with his strong extreme ideas, right? Taking things by force ideas. These people, this priest basically, and his people were peacefully trying to ask for reasonable things. If we just stuck around and actually heard them and did something about that, right? Lots of things wouldn't have worked. Like, you know, Lenin wouldn't have so much support from the people because the people would have saw, like, see that we went peacefully to the Tsar and he agreed to our terms. Right? There's no need for Lenin's extreme idea. So he would have been just some minority guy who just screams and bitch about it. Right? The massive revolution, Soviet Union wouldn't have existed. All because Tsar Nicholas was a moron. He ran away while a priest was coming peacefully. And also this is like, you know, if you attack a religious leader, that carries different weight. So this also fueled the revolution at a whole other scale probably.
Troops to fire. But as an autocrat, he got the blame. The event became known as Bloody Sunday.
Come on, man, it was his fault.
Reputation plummeted. Strikes erupted across the empire. Workers demanded.
I mean, you could say that he didn't know and the soldiers just opened fire. Yeah, it's his job to maintain all that shit, right? If soldiers opened fire, it was his fault. He should have been there.
Increased. Liberals demanded political power. Peasants demanded land. The country was out of control, and the 1905 revolution had begun. Listen, Nicholas, peasants seizing my land and murdering my family I can tolerate, but illegally chopping my wood? That's obscene! And the worse I treat my workers, the more they strike. I don't get it. Everyone relax. As long as the military is still on my side, there's nothing to worry about. Sir, the sailors are starting to mutiny. Well, my life just sucks. With Russia still losing to the Japanese, unrest was growing in the military, and some sailors had even taken to killing officers. Having the people against you was bad enough, but if the military joined in, it would be—
Yeah, I mean, there is a real point here that people need to understand. understand. The military are also common people. They have family that are part of here, right? There's a high chance that this guy's, sister, cousin, or whatever is one of them here, right? I mean, military are not some robot. They're also people.
Be game over. To make matters worse, in October, workers and Marxists, including one Leon Trotsky, began setting up local elected councils called Soviets that coordinated strikes and supplied the workers. Sergei could see the writing on the wall. Things were going south fast, and he needed a big idea to save the Tsar. And luckily, he had just that. You see, all these angry people from different parts of society weren't really working together, meaning there was a weakness to exploit. Sergei wrote a manifesto that would give the liberals an elected assembly called the Duma. It took some convincing, but eventually, Nicholas agreed to share power and have his laws approved by an elected assembly. Hey liberals, here's your stupid manifesto. Happy now? We certainly are. But what about these guys? Aren't you gonna give them what they want? Oh, goodness no. I was just going to kill them. With the liberals satisfied, and after ending the war with Japan, the Tsar brought thousands of troops home, who then dismantled the Soviets, arrested their leaders, and crushed the peasant uprisings in the countryside. And how about that pesky parliament Nicholas had agreed to share power with? Well, he then wrote a bunch of new laws, which basically said, hey, remember that manifesto I wrote and how you guys were going to approve my laws? Slight change of plan. Actually, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, and you guys are going to shut up. What? The people won't stand for this. People? What people? This is why people don't like you. And just like that, Nicholas had survived the 1905 revolution.
See, there you go. He just, suppressed people rather than reason with them, right? He started some kind of parliament type of system, and he suppressed that as well.
But wait, a revolution? In Russia? Where was Lenin? Well, Lenin and his communist pals were still in exile. He tried desperately to radicalize the uprising, but all he could do was watch. As the movements failed to organize, the liberals sold out the poor, and the Tsar outplayed the people. Furious, he believed Russia had missed a great chance for a real revolution. From now on, he felt the only way left was an armed revolution by the workers. Watching the events of 1905,
he always thought that.
Lenin learned a lot. The Tsar, however, would prove to have learned nothing. After the 1905 revolution had failed, the Tsar's new top man was Pyotr Stolypin, and he had big ideas to prevent any more chaos. Step 1, reform agriculture. This'll make the peasants love you. And step 2, we'll kill anyone who doesn't. To discourage any more revolutionary ideas, Stolypin began to crack down even harder on the Tsar's opponents, and thousands were sentenced to death. The noose even earned itself a new nickname, Stolypin's necktie. I don't get it. Oh, I see, because it goes around my neck.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Lenin and Stalin met at a communist convention in Finland, and Lenin liked Stalin because he was a real go-getter and was great at fundraising for the Bolsheviks. And by fundraising, I mean kidnapping, robbing, extorting, bribing, ransoming, assassinating,
Stalin, you have no idea who am I or what I'm capable of. The level of shit I'm going to do is just, nobody can even think about it.
Prison breaking, stealing, bank raiding, executioning, and stealing again. Hey Stalin, the Mensheviks aren't so hot in all this stealing, but we still need money. So the next time you do a big heist, just do it quietly. Okay, quietly. Got it. If this isn't quiet, I don't know what is. Stalin's wacky antics eventually got him exiled to Siberia, but he had established himself as a big balls Bolshevik. However, no amount of Bolshevik balls could stop what was happening. The Russian economy was making a recovery. For the Tsar, things were looking up. This is great. All Nicholas has to do is sit back and not mess anything up. Hey everyone, big news. I'd like to introduce you to my new best friend. He's a crazy, drunken, beardy, horny, scandal-ridden magic wizard man, and he smells like a goat. We're screwed. Rasputin. A dirt-poor peasant from dirt-poor nowhere. But unlike all the other dirt-poor peasants, Rasputin had holy healing powers. And when this holy mystic wandered into St. Petersburg, people began to nip.
I like how was it where he had the holy healing powers and then allegedly. Of course.
Notice, he quickly became famous, and word of this mystery man and his healing hands made its way to the royal palace. The appearance of a holy homeless healer was of great interest to the Tsar and his wife. As far as royals go, they weren't that inbred, but they were just inbred enough for their son Alexei to get hemophilia, or in layman's terms, Mamma mia, that's a lot of blood. Knowing Rasputin could heal people, in 1906, Alexandra asked for Rasputin to come and see if he could cure their son. And crazy as it sounds, Rasputin did heal Alexei, possibly by taking him off his doctor-prescribed aspirin. Having seemingly done the impossible,
Ooh, that's some level of magic, right?
Rasputin became very, very close to the royal family. But having a crazy homeless wizard man hanging around wasn't a good look for the Tsar, because Rasputin was freaky. Not only was he a big fan of alcohol, but he'd also throw these crazy parties with Russian nobility, where he'd and all night long, and then he'd his whole head hypnotic eyes, and nobody knew how the goat got on the roof. Initially,
What?
the press were banned from talking about Rasputin, but eventually, the ban was lifted, and the tabloids went to town. The whole thing was a huge scandal, and everyone was freaked out that this guy
Seriously, man. It's not like the guy is all this wizard and just, weird magical guy. Oh, no. He also did freaky shit. I think that pushed it.
was influencing the Tsar and his wife. Nicholas could have spent this period of relative peace improving his image. Instead, he spent it doing this. But as weird as the whole Rasputin thing was, so long as the economy continued to improve and the people's lives kept getting better, maybe Nick would be okay. Maybe there would be no more revolutions. Maybe this video could even end right here. Or maybe things were about to get worse.
World War
A lot
One.
worse. You see, the year is 1914, and that means it's time for World War I.
Ah, come on. After watching this video, you can hardly blame World War One for Nicholas's downfall. He was a moron. There were many chances he could have, appeased the people. He just didn't, right? He could have easily, talked to those peaceful people that were coming there, the priest and everybody, and could have eased tension there. He could have easily seen that, okay, bringing Rasputin like that publicly would cause, my image to, stain, basically. There were lots of moments where he could have improved, but he was just a fucking moron, right? He introduced some kind of parliament system to, appease people. But as soon as the war was over with Japan, he just bring in the people to suppress everybody and just say, fuck off to those people. I mean, if you do shit like that, World War I is hardly to blame. You were screwed anyway. You were never going to survive. Well, that was the Russian Revolution Oversimplified Part 1. This was great. If you like my reaction, don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the Rick Sandy. There's a link in the description. Check out the cards for play, check out the cards, and yeah, I'll see you next time.